The world is falling apart. Countries are fighting for supremacy and control. Each country's leaders are saying they should rule their people. This is neither politically correct or morally right. It is the people that suffer by the hands of the corrupt leaders of their countries. For the people to be free, they must take a stand against the corporations that control the politicians.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order, because the global order is changing again. And the institutions and the rules that worked so well in the post-World War II era for decades, they need to be strengthened, and some have to be changed. So we have to do what we do best. We have to lead. We have to lead.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Did you ever have the feeling you were being watched? Nope. Wrong. Guess again.
Did you know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world where none suffered, where everyone would be happy? And it was a disaster. No one would accept the program. Entire crops were lost. Some believed that we lacked the programming language to describe your perfect world, but I believe that as a species, human beings define their reality through misery and suffering. So the perfect world was a dream that your primitive cerebrum kept trying to wake up from, which is why the Matrix was redesigned to this, the peak of your civilization.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
The citizens of the United States of America are in the midst of a national crisis. The economy is broken, as well as health care and education. It is time for all the people of the United States to make the change necessary to bring about a better, more stable country. It is time for a dramatic change of political philosophy. It is time the citizens of the United States of America defend themselves against a tyranny that is spreading throughout the nation. It is time people to come together as one people and defend the principles they have lived by for over 237 years. It is your duty and obligation to honor our founding fathers. We the people have the power. We are America.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey folks, this is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce right here for the 22nd of July 2014. Consider this the mini podcast part 2 for today. Just a show note, I am taking a well-deserved vacation, quote unquote. Won't be back till Monday, August 4th, so that's something to look forward to come back and yeah, you got to get away, got to get recharged and all that. And, you know, you just got to clear your head and, you know, go from there. And it's time, you know, take a longer vacation than just 2 or 3 days, you know. So I don't have a co-host or a guest host or anything like that. It's just me. And if anyone is interested in guest hosting my show or co-hosting my show, that would be really cool, because I know that y'all got different opinions and views and perspectives of these things going on. So if you want to even be a guest on my show, that's awesome too. You can email me at freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. The first thing I want to get into is what's over on Free America Radio on Facebook, on the fascist CIA Facebook. Now, let me get there and I'll tell you what I want to talk about as soon as Facebook cooperates. Free America Radio on Facebook. Co-opting of a movement, part 1, is one thing I want to talk about. And from an article from RenewAmerica.com, the nemesis of Agenda 21. Also, here's the biggie. Okay, this is exactly what I wanted to talk about for this episode, for part 2 of the Wayne S. Spear Show mini podcast. And it's real simple. UN pushes to designate illegal immigrants from Central America as refugees. They may or may not be, who knows? But that doesn't matter. The United Nations continues to attempt to exert its unfounded authority into the affairs of the United States, this time by involving itself in the border crisis. On the southern border of the United States, an influx of thousands of illegal immigrants, including unaccompanied children, has been migrating from Central America and finding that housing facilities are overflowing. Local communities across the country, including California and New York, have refused to permit overflow shelters to house the immigrant children to be opened. The cost of the crisis for the American people is staggering. Taxpayer money is used to secure space for the detention and feeding of the illegal immigrants. In June, the White House announced a plan to spend millions by sending aid to governments in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador to help reduce crime and violence in a quote-unquote effort to reduce immigration. Okay. The response from the Obama administration has been ineffectual at best, and the president has taken what some critics view as an aloof position on the crisis. Enter the United Nations, which, perhaps unsurprisingly, has interests other than that of the United States to protect in this crisis. WorldNet Daily reported, quote, representatives of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, or UNHRC, are intensely discussing in meetings the possibility of extending UN protection to the thousands of Central Americans crossing the U.S. border with Mexico illegally by defining them, quote-unquote, refugees who are seeking asylum from political and domestic violence in their home nations, WND has confirmed, unquote. A 10-nation meeting in Nicaragua was held last week with ministers from the United States, Mexico, and various Central American countries. Those in attendance included representatives from SICA, an El Salvador-headquartered non-government organization endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 to create regional bodies authorized to interact with the United Nations. Preliminary reports indicate that the officials concluded that the illegal aliens are refugees and therefore deserve international protection. The ministers cited the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Refugees. Quote, they are leaving for some reason. Let's not send them back in a mechanical way, but rather evaluate the reasons they left their country, unquote. Fernando Piatti, regional representative of the UN Refugee Agency, told the Associated Press. Officials close to the UN discussions have told WND that it's a tricky situation since the Central American immigrants do not belong to any group that has been designated by the United Nations as victims of political or religious persecution. NBC News observed that the designation would be unprecedented. Quote, Central Americans would be among the first modern migrants considered refugees for fleeing violence and extortion at the hands of criminal gangs, unquote, writes NBC News. While a UN resolution asking the illegal immigrants to be declared as refugees would lack any legal weight in the United States, the agency said it believes, quote, the U.S. and Mexico should recognize that this is a refugee situation, which implies that they shouldn't be automatically sent to their home countries, but rather receive international protection, unquote. Quote, unaccompanied children and families who fear for their lives and freedoms must not be forcibly returned without access to proper asylum procedures, unquote. UNHCR official Leslie Velez, said in testimony submitted to the House Judiciary Committee late last month. It is highly unlikely that the American people would support designation of the illegal aliens as refugees, particularly since little has changed in Central America, where violence and poverty were always an issue. The American Thinker's Doris O'Brien wrote, quote, there's nothing new about the deplorable conditions in Central America. Poverty and waves of violence have been threatening people there for decades, but not until a way was devised to misinterpret an immigration law did the widespread exodus of children to the promised land actually come to pass. Forget the buses and trains. Those wayward kids were transported here, the modern-day equivalent of a Trojan horse. Similarly, NBC News reported, quote, Honduras has the world's highest homicide rate for a nation not at war. In El Salvador, the end of the truce between street gangs has led to a sharp rise in homicides. Violence spread in recent decades after members of California street gangs were deported to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, where they overwhelmed weak and corrupt police forces. A press release is expected to be released on the meeting in Nicaragua sometime this week. Meanwhile, the Obama administration response to the crisis continues to be challenged as inept and inconsistent. Obama has indicated he plans to use executive action to improve border security, an announcement that Politico's Rich Lowry notes, quote, has a man bites dog feel to it after all of the administration's executive actions to determine immigration, unquote. What's worse is that the Obama administration had reportedly been warned of the impending border crisis over the past 2 years as a surge of Central American minors, young children, young people, had been crossing into South Texas illegally. The Washington Post reported, quote, nearly a year before President Obama declared a humanitarian crisis on the border, a team of experts arrived at Fort Brown patrol station in Brownsville, Texas, and discovered a makeshift transportation depot for a deluge of foreign children. 30 Border Patrol agents were assigned in August of 2013 to drive the children to off-site showers, wash their clothes, and make them sandwiches. As soon as those children were placed in temporary shelters, more arrived. An average of 66 were apprehended each day on the border, and more than 24,000 cycled through Texas patrol stations in 2013. And one former senior federal enforcement official told the Washington Post that Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Custom Enforcement had warned the White House of the potential for a significant surge of migrant children at the border as early as 2012. Further, the border crisis is hurting any chance of President Obama to enact immigration reform. According to a July poll by Pew Research Center, the majority of Americans support expediting the process of deporting Central American children who are in the United States illegally. Likewise, the majority disapprove of the way President Obama has handled illegal immigration. So there you go. The illegals pretty much have their way. And Dennis Michael Lynch said on the Buck Sexton show on the Blaze radio network and TV network, literally said, worse is coming. The worst is coming. not those words, but if you look at the interview and watch what he says, you'll understand what I'm saying. What do we do? What do we do? Excuse me, there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot that we can do. But the one thing that has to be done immediately has to be done, is to close the border. Okay? Close the freaking border. Period. From RenewAmerica.com, U.S. government turns fully against Americans and few seem to care. Over the last weekend, it finally got out, despite suppression from the White House and the media, that the Mexican drug cartels, human traffickers, are now firing .50 caliber ammo at our U.S. Border Patrol agents. These are bullets that can reach their targets as much as a mile away. This is an act of war. Yet, neither the pretend President of the United States, a dictator-in-chief Barack Obama, nor any of his minions comment on it at all. Neither does Obama try to stop the thousands of illegals, largely gang members, drug cartel, human traffickers, and Islamists, not children, that he has invited into the country as a foreign invasion force to replace U.S. citizens and help him bring down the USA. Besides, he's already decimated most of the U.S. military, demanded the Border Patrol stand down and no longer attempt to stop anyone entering the USA, placing them on diaper and babysitting duties for the children coming in with their parents. What difference do some U.S. Border Patrol deaths or any additional U.S. citizens' death mean to him? He does, after all, have a 1-month vacation in August coming up. Recently, Obama barely commented on the passenger plane that was shot down, apparently by the Russians or their rebels over Russian-held eastern Ukraine. Instead, he initially called it a possible tragedy and then continued on to another fundraiser. Possible tragedy? Everyone on board was already known to have been killed, and it's a possible tragedy? Note, from Obama, there's never any wasted or any at all compassion. He's shown that to us all with his destruction of the American people via killing their economy, encouraging them not to work while he destroys jobs, businesses, bringing on the demise of health care. Hint, Obamacare does not provide health care. Allowing foreign invasions of any and all comers via the U.S. southern border who are bringing in deadly diseases and being transported in multiple states without telling the leaders of said states where he's had them dumped. Yes, folks, he's doing his job extremely well. And still, no one is stopping him. Apparently, we have way too many suicidal citizens in the country now. You can read this story on the Free America Radio Facebook page. U.S. government turns fully against Americans, and few seem to care. Also, from the Minority Report blog.com, illegal immigration destroying one school district at a time. Also from WND, illegal families fanning out across Pennsylvania. And there is a convoy happening down around the southern border. And so many people, there's all sorts of Facebook pages, all sorts of forums talking bad about this, talking bad about all these people that are going near the border and doing what they do, to close the border, to stop these people from coming in. And now Texas Governor Rick Perry has called out 1,000 National Guard troops. Where were they before? But he's only doing it for photo op, for, looking good before the 2016 presidential election. Yeah, I have a distinct feeling he's going to run. He's going to run for president. But the facts of the matter are, we're being invaded. We're being invaded, people. Can you understand that? We are being invaded, period. Dennis Michael Lynch said the time it takes to get from Central America up to America is 45 days. We ain't seen nothing yet, folks. We have not seen anything yet. And believe me, it's going to get a lot worse. We need to close the border. We need to do it now. Not tomorrow, not next week. We need to do it now. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like the way I talk. That's only because they don't accept the truth and the facts. So anyway, folks, it's only going to be a half hour, so I got like 9 minutes left. So no big deal. Get on to another subject here real quick, and that is from the Minority Report blog.com. Illegal immigration destroying one school district at a time. Okay. There's a video in there you might want to see. It's on Free America Radio Facebook page. Illegal immigration is destroying not just the fabric of our nation, it's destroying the very foundation of our nation. Public schools, and we're not friends of public education, are at the point of the spear when it comes to destructive impact of allowing illegals to flood into the U.S. Illegal aliens bringing their children, so-called dreamers, into the country, and thanks to the Democrats, we require that schools accept every child in their district without regard to the immigration status of the child or the family, which, like their parents, these illegal alien children can't speak English and are uneducated in their home language. That means that tremendous resources must be used to maintain, it's in quotes, these kids into the classroom. That does two things. First, it takes resources away from kids who are and whose families are U.S. citizens. For the most part, these families pay the taxes to run the schools, and their kids are getting robbed of any chance of a decent education by the flood of illegals taking up classroom resources. Second, it slows down the learning process for the entire class because these kids can't be just put into a special needs classroom until they're able to keep up, because that might scar them. Rather than call attention to the fact that they have no business in a regular classroom, educators' mainstream theme, let me read that again. Rather than call attention to the fact that they have no business in a classroom, educators mainstream them and slow down the whole class. What's the impact on your city or town? We would guess it's a lot like the impact on Lynn, Massachusetts, or it will be shortly, since the Obama administration is busily relocating the flood to random towns in red states. Remember this story? It's coming to your neighborhood. President Obama's Department of Homeland Security is moving these illegal aliens into your neighborhood with no notice. You can expect your schools to be overrun. If you offer any kind of public assistance to any low-income families, you can expect your welfare budget to skyrocket as well. We would urge you to contact Senator and Representatives today. Tell them to seal the border and to stop relocating illegal aliens into the interior of the nation, where they'll soon be forgotten, and it's likely they'll end up on President Obama's amnesty and watch list. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Close the damn border. You don't need it open. Okay? A lot of people get all upset with me about that. They get all upset because they don't understand. Well, I don't understand why you're like that. What are you, racist? No. Prejudice? No. Then what is it? We got laws to follow. The rule of law, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. We got these laws to follow, and we have to follow them. And no, I don't believe any illegal aliens should get amnesty at all, ever. Put them in the back of the line and let them get through. Okay? Let them do it that way. Go through the process. Yeah, I don't get it, folks. I don't get it. I understand why this system is accepting all these people. And we shouldn't, because it's going to take away the resources that you and I need, okay? I mean, I understand that they're coming from failed countries, but why here? I believe it was the Honduras or the Guatemalan president who worked out a deal with the Mexican president. Well, why couldn't he just keep all them there? Why not? Because we have a big giant sign on our border saying, hey, cross this border, get everything for free. And it's on the backs of the taxpayers, you and I, folks. But then some people will argue, well, Americans, Western Europeans weren't the only ones here. Well, I know that. There were people here long before what we consider to be the Native Americans. Okay? So I don't want to go into that whole immigration thing, but I will say that if we get a clue soon enough, we'll be able to stop all this. If people start waking up and looking at themselves and looking at what's around them, we'll be able to stop this invasion. Okay? Now, what's the alternative? Okay, you've closed the borders. You've rounded up thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal aliens over a period of a couple of years. You rounded them up. Now you got to send them home. Okay, they're back over the border. They're home. Now what? I've got a possible solution, and that possible solution is this. Build a 25-foot tall fence down on the border. Hey, if they got a fence between Israel and Palestine, or Israel and that other country, why not us? Okay? Don't need a fence at that point. You just need this big, tall thing to block off the border. Okay? That's a possible solution. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Some of you number crunchers and physics experts need to send me the reason why that wouldn't work. In the meantime, folks, again, program note, I am taking a very well-deserved vacation. And the views expressed live in the Wayne S. Pierce Show will not be on for 2 weeks. I will be back on air on August 4th. That's a Monday. That's August 4th. And if you have any questions, concerns, want to send me articles that you write, or send me clips of your radio shows or promos for your shows on Spreaker or elsewhere, please do. I'll play them for you. And again, taking a well-deserved vacation, folks. You guys have a great week, and the next couple of weeks, actually. And I shall see you or talk to you on August 4th. And I'll be back with the Wayne S. Pierce Show and the Views Expressed live. In the meantime, folks, please talk to me. Send me some email. If you want to support Free America Radio Network, you can go to Free America Radio Network and donate. Or you can email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com. Send me your articles. I'll put them up on the website at freeamericaradio.us. Again, it's freeamericaradio@usa.com. And the website is freeamericaradio.us. Have a great week, folks.